So now that I've talked about my favorite episodes of After Story, it's time to conclude this marathon by talking about my least favorite episodes of the show. Like always, there are spoilers ahead, so you have been warned. Also, like the last least favorite episodes list, there will be positives about these 5 stinkers in the description below, since this list is about why I didn't like these episodes. Finally, this is strictly my opinion, so if there's an episode that you didn't like that wasn't on this list, feel free to either leave a comment or make your own list. With that said, let's rock it! To start off this list is episode 17. My first problem with this episode is the beginning. I feel that it drags on for a little too long, and a lot of what is said here isn't really relevant to the rest of the episode, other than Tomoya ignoring Ushio for 5 years. And believe me, I will get back to that shortly. Speaking of Ushio, the build-up to her reveal took way too frickin' long, showing up halfway through the episode. Was this meant to be a surprise or something? Cause you friggin' showed her birth in the last episode! And there was no mention of her death in the first half, so why wait that long for the reveal? Even then, another issue I had with the episode was Tomoya's attitude towards Ushio. Dude, I get that your wife died, but for Christ's sakes, that's your daughter. That's no excuse to treat her like she's no one important to you. Oh, and as we find out later, he pretty much skipped out on the first few years of her life. You know, a period that some parents would deem as important years for a child. Not even the dialogue/comedy could save this episode, since it was pretty bland to watch and I wasn't entertained one bit. But despite my issues with this episode, the rest of the entries on this list are far worse, so let's just move on. Number 4 is the very first episode of After Story. So, why do I hate the season premiere over, say, episode 17? Well, the first reason is because most of this episode is watching the characters play a baseball game! Okay, I know I bitched about this in a previous list, but I'm gonna say it here for those who didn't watch that. I hate watching people play sports! So to have pretty much the whole episode be based around them playing a sport, as well as a sport I don't care that much about, you get a recipe for a terrible episode. But even if I ignored that, the comedy in this episode is about as rich and juicy as a 3-week-old steak, the characters were about as interesting as a sack of wood, and overall, it was just really boring to watch. Number 3 on this list is episode 4. So why do I hate this episode? 3 words. The soccer team! Yes, I know that they were most likely designed to be assholes/unlikable characters because you were supposed to hate them. And to that I say, mission accomplished! Because I do hate these pricks. But they're not even that interesting to watch. They're just stereotypical bullies with little personality to them. And it makes the episode really boring to watch because their scenes take up a majority of the episode. And no, the scene where they get beat up by Sunehara did not help my opinion of the episode because I don't like Sunehara to begin with. In other words, one bad character beating up a group of bad characters doesn't equal a great scene for me. Another example of a bad scene ruining the episode is the scene where Sunehara doesn't give a crap about his sister and wants Tomoya to look after her. I already hated Sunehara for not being funny, as well as being really freaking annoying, but treating his own sibling like crap and being a douche to his supposed friend only serves to make me hate this character even more, especially when he doesn't learn a damn thing after this episode aside from defending his sister more often, which is rendered worthless anyways because she pretty much disappears from the series after this episode. Hell, none of the characters in this episode were all that great. They were either really bland, really boring to watch, or acting completely idiotic. Such as Tomoya and Sunehara getting into a fight over what was essentially a lie. But I'll explain that further in the next entry. So, what was the lie? Tomoya says that Mei and him are a thing! And Sunehara instantly believes it! Yes, I'm serious! Does Sunehara do anything about this? Nope! Doesn't even really question it. I just don't get this guy. And no, I didn't like the scenes with just Tomoya and Mei doing stuff together because I don't like Mei to begin with, and their interactions with the other feel really awkward to watch in my opinion. Yeah, Tomoya, those looks are well deserved. Even ignoring that, Sunehara got an upgrade in the annoyance/douchebag department because Sunehara is so bad, as well as so annoying in this episode, that it makes me want to punch him in his smug-ass face. Oh, and his comedic bits aren't that funny either, and he's supposed to be the comic relief character. Ignoring that, a lot of the dialogue feels incredibly awkward to watch, and that's not even counting the absolutely stupid lines uttered by the cast.
Stop sulking like a little baby, Sunehara. Get over here.
When one is faced with a beautiful thing called love, who has time for a little sister? I don't know. If I go after her, I might end up missing Sunai's call.
Also, this may just be me, but I am not the biggest fan of the scenes where Sane and Sunehara are quote-unquote dating, because not only does it feel incredibly awkward to watch an adult date a teen, but their dialogue is so forced, it hurts. Not even the other characters can save this episode, as they're either really bland, completely worthless to the overall plot, or really piss me off, such as May. So what episode could top this? Well, let's find out. So, what episode tops the utter stupidity of a fake relationship and cringe? How about an episode pretty much centered around my least favorite character and some of the worst comedy I've seen in the show? That episode is episode 2. Good lord, this episode. Do you remember in episode 23 of Clannad when May showed up? Well, after that episode, she stayed with the main group until episode 4 of After Story, and this episode explains why. She wants Sunehara to get his life together. Okay, fair enough. It shows that she cares about her big brother. So how do they screw it up? Simple. One of the ways involves Sunehara hooking up with a fake girlfriend, and the scenes that follow are some of the stupidest I've ever seen in the entire show. First off, the dialogue is incredibly awkward to listen to. Look, I get that it's supposed to be awkward, but the execution is what I have an issue with. It not only feels really awkward, but it also feels downright disturbing at points. On top of that, the comedy in this episode is about as dry as the Sahara Desert, and considering that most of the comedy is from Sunehara, the comic relief character, having his comedic bits fall flat hurts the episode a lot, especially when most of the episode is centered around him. Speaking of characters, I feel that this aspect was also very poor because a lot of them weren't that interesting. And even the main characters weren't really that interesting to watch, so they came off as either bland, boring, or a combination of the two. But I think the biggest problem I had with this episode is that it was so boring to watch. I didn't care about Sunehara to begin with, and watching him try to get a fake girlfriend went on for so long, I didn't care which student he hooked up with so long as I moved on to something better. And as you can tell from the ranking of this list, it didn't get better. But I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm the Mountie, and this concludes the Clannad Marathon. Thank you for watching, and take care.
Are you gonna say something? Oh, son of a...
Wait, what the hell? Oh, I guess I fell asleep after watching the show. Well, I'm not gonna sleep on this couch. I have my own bed to sleep in.